dragon queens. They lost the ability to make their own glandular juices, so they need to eat other people's glandular juices, and that gives them the rush that they hunger for. And the seeds, the roots, the origin of this myth was contained in what was called, we call it royal jelly. And it means if you have a hive of bees and they need to make royal blood, they take royal jelly, which is the glandular best juices, and they feed it to special eggs, and that will make them a messiah, royal blood, a grail bloodline, a queen. And a similar tradition existed among the Orion queens, if we are to believe the myth, as talked about also by Morning Sky in his book Guardians of the Grail, in addition to Gardner's scholarship around this in Genesis of the Grail Kings. What they used for their royal jelly was the oil of Messeh, M-E-S-S-E-H, from which comes our word Messiah, one fed by the oil of Messeh, which also means the oil of the crocodile, or the juice of the crocodile. And the juices of the crocodile were a key initiatory substance used in all the Egyptian initiations for relevant reasons. So what happened was, apparently this became the trained temple, vestal, virgin, menstrual blood of these trained queens. And the menstrual blood, under proper conditions of hygiene, is very high in melatonin, serotonin. And this triggers early maturation of the pineal pituitary complex in the Messiah, the Quasach, the Muad'Dib, the avatar, who then gets a better squirt gun in the pineal pituitary and allows him to be the steerage through the speed of light into time of that soul group that needed royal blood. That's the real meaning of royal blood, or the grail, or the golden fleece, the golden braid, perfect embedding in the DNA, was that you get this perfect implosion going in the blood, and you get the ability to have this like fire envelope, this cocoon of fire, this self-organizing fire that does not consume the vril, the perfect pearl, born out of the mouth of the serpent power. So this becomes, in retrospect, the trigger for massive kundalini. And if we understand really what kundalini is at a glandular juice level, we see that kundalini is the spine serpent brain able to pump out its reptilian mouth, which is called amygdala, which means almond or fractal or tower, to tower Magdala. And out the mouth of the serpent literally comes this calcific excipient, it's called kundalingam, with first kundalini, which could look literally like a dragon's egg, you see? And what happens is this gathered juices of spinal ecstatic bliss, the result of sacrocranial pumping, massaged in envelope by the snake charmer of the heart's sonic sound at the moment of bliss. You have this snake charmer. And so out, regurgitating out the mouth of the snake, which is the amygdala at the brain stem, comes these juices which trigger this massive squirt gun through the speed of light, which is how you massage the envelope to make an avatar. You make a leader, a primer of the pump through the death wormhole, through the speed of light into time. It's called the principle of les are us. The book is called The Lazarus Effect in the Dune series. But what it really means is you train someone, as Jesus did Lazarus, how to squirt their memory coherently through compressed DNA fire enough to retain the spin pattern through the implosion wormhole through the speed of light, so that when you come back, like trailing clouds of glory, you literally are able to draw through those threads, through the speed of light, the memories of what you saw. And that's called surviving death, the Lazarus effect. The lasing are us, to lase and maze, to create coherence in the DNA and create coherence in the glands. So there's a kind of a fun story told by a friend of ours. He's a great naturopathic physician in Miami, James Landrell, he wouldn't mind my saying. And he had this story that he had found in his guides and his work with his inner shamanic activity, that the Dracos appeared to be after him, so to speak, the dragon queens. And he couldn't figure out why. And it's kind of this fun story about, he later realized they needed him to be somehow the negotiator because, see, this dragon culture had ruled a high percentage of the inhabitable planetoids in the Orion sector for millennia. And they ruled with essentially terror. And because these Dracos at the high end became our dragon bloodline, the dragons who are heroes in Gardner's book, Genesis of the Grail Kings, because they really are the origin of the blood of the royal families of France and Britain and Russia. You know, as he said, that's the meaning of Holy Blood, Holy Grail. That's the high side of the dragon blood. But the low side of the same dragon or Draco blood is the story of the firefights under Dulce. And the Dracos are 9 to 12 feet tall, and they have 2 hearts, and they're hard to kill. They're highly telepathic, and they appear to be, in a sense, heartless. They can eat people. And they particularly like eating human glands. They're full of fear because it gives them a rush. That's the fallen or low side. And our point is to not go at these stories saying, oh, now we got to sort out the good guys from the bad guys. That's wrong. That's oversimplistic. What we need to do is the pogo trick of saying, we have met and encountered the enemy, and it is us. What we're saying is, these are our ancestors, for better or for worse. The German, the Aryan, the Orion, the Orions, the Anunnaki, the Aryans have guilt for the war they made against the Nibiru, Hebrew, murdering them en masse. But the deep understanding of that guilt is they were murdering their mother. It was an Oedipus complex, because the Nibiru arrive, the Hebrew priests, and they do the gene splicing, which is the mother of the Aryan bloodline. And why were they pissed at mom? Because dragons are terrible mothers. They don't do compassion well. Or another little fun piece of that story is, why is the Elizabethan bloodline, Elizabeth, born from lizard, which is documented to be the Magdalene, the Mogs were the Orion queens, the Magdalene's blood. Why was Elizabeth's bloodline, Queen Elizabeth, so lousy at mothering that most of the members of the royal family have this quivering, stiff upper lip story, which is British, which means lack of mothering. And yet it's this firmness of this upper lip nose complex which makes the eye tooth of the dragon, which when it matures inside the egg, is what is able to peck its way through the dragon's egg. And that's how we get out of the matrix. So what we need to understand is how it evolves in our genetic material, in our bliss density, that we get the force to peck our way out of this membrane egg, which apparently is holding us in the matrix and the cube and the prisoner. It's like, first you're in flatland, but you don't know you're in flatland. First you're a prisoner, but you don't know you're in prison. First you're in the matrix, but the first step is to find out you're stuck in a matrix. You're stuck in a cube. You're